Welcome. My name is Rick Mannon, and I'm an inductee of the Brantford Area Sports Hall of Recognition. And I'm happy to be speaking with Kevin Sullivan today. Before I do that, I would like to just give you some insight on some of Kevin's accomplishments over the years. His hometown is Brantford. He has set numerous Canadian and world age group records while growing up in Brantford. He ran a 3:59, a 3-minute and 59-second mile while in high school, which is tremendous. He went on to University of Michigan, where he won numerous NCAA track titles, and he's the third runner in the Big Ten history to win 4 consecutive titles. Then, after university, he went on to become a 3-time Olympian, including a 5th place in the 1500 in the year 2000. He was also silver medalist at the 2001 Goodwill Games and the 1994 Commonwealth Games. He holds, and still holds, Canadian records at 5 track events, the oldest now standing for 12 years. He's an 8-time Canadian champion, and he's a 6-time Canadian World Cross Country team member. So here I'd like to welcome one of Canada's best distance runners, middle distance runners in history, Kevin. So Kevin, where did you go to school in Brantford and area, and what type of sports did you participate in while living there?
Elementary school, I went to Greenbrier Elementary in the North End, and then once I graduated from there, went on to high school. I was at North Park for my 5 years of high school.
And what type of sports did you participate in?
I pretty much played. Everything. I started off on skates. So I was a hockey player initially, soccer in the summers. My dad got me into flag football in the fall, and then when I was 8 or 9, I started playing some golf as well. So I played golf all summer, and then gradually kind of got my way into track and field. So by about 5th or 6th grade, I was starting to run track as well, and still kind of doing those other sports at the same time.
Oh, so lots of sports. Is there any truth to the fact that when you were playing hockey, you were the fastest skater, but you couldn't stop?
No, I could stop. I could definitely stop. But I was a fast skater, forwards and backwards. Yeah. Definitely an asset for me. But yeah.
What drew you into the sport of track and field and cross country?
Well, I think initially I just got into it through just a field day at school, and wasn't very good initially, but you had to do it every year. And then one year, all of a sudden, I won the school track meet, and I went on to the city meet, and I was second to the city meet, and then it was just suggested that I look into this track club in town. So my dad took me out there, one winter, took me out to the W. Ross McDonald School on their little 100-meter indoor track, and that's kind of how I got into it. So it kind of happened just because I happened to get good at it, just from a grade school level, and then once I got involved in it, it just kind of took off from there.
Okay. I was going to ask you who was the person that kind of made that decision to try to get you into it, but it leads into the next question. Do you have any mentors that you have that have had an impact on your life or your sport or your career?
Well, I definitely had a lot of mentors, whether, sport, in academics, or kind of a combination of the both. And it was my principal at Greenbrier he was the one that had suggested, just checking out the Brantford Track and Field Club, after I won a cross-country race at Greenbrier, school cross-country race. And so he was the one that kind of first put the bug in my ear, and then it was kind of a few months later before we actually kind of looked into it. So he was the one that kind of first kind of pushed me into that. But I've had a lot of mentors from, some of my teachers, Les Carr at Greenbrier, Gord Peterson at North Park, some of the gym teachers there. And then obviously coming through the club, had all kinds of mentors from some of the older guys, like yourself, Rick, Ray Tucker, and even just some of the the older high school guys that were in the club at the time. So they kind of brought me along. I had a lot of good mentors and role models there, and then I had my parents who were always great about keeping me active without pushing me into different sports. And then I just kind of have my my track and field heroes. So guys like Sebco and Steve Auvette, and you kind of watch some of those old races, and that kind of inspires you as well. So it's just kind of a mishmash of all kinds of mentors.
Some of them, the athletes you mentioned at the end of your statement, did you ever race against them?
I never raced against Co or Auvette. They were before my kind of competitive. I was just probably in 5th or 6th grade by the time they're at the end of their careers. The first kind of real international athletes that I got to compete against. I competed against Steve Cram at the end of his career and Abdi Bila at the end of his career. Those are the kind of the first two real big time miler 1500 type guys, world champions, world record holders that I really got to step on the track and race.
Good. What would you say are some of the highlights of your career?
Well, certainly I have a lot of highlights. From my high school career, going undefeated through OFSA was a big highlight, just a career highlight, I guess. Winning a medal at the World Junior Championships when I was 19, actually when I was 18, that was kind of my first big international breakthrough. I'd been on a couple of teams, but that was the first time I'd really kind of stepped on the international stage and really proved myself at that level. And that was kind of, I think, that was kind of the turning point where I started realizing that I could really make a go of this, beyond a junior career, and start thinking about things like World Championships and Olympics. And so that was a big highlight when I was younger. And then winning a bronze medal at the silver medal at the Commonwealth Games in '94 in Victoria. Again, it was a big breakthrough for me, where I had a 3-second personal best, won a medal in a major championship, and did it in Canada. So it was kind of the combination of all three of those things. So that was the really big senior international breakthrough year for me, and then I transferred that on the next year to finishing 5th at the World Championships, and then but then ultimately my biggest accomplishment, I would say, is my 5th place in Sydney. It's not a medal, so you don't have any hardware to put on the wall, but from missing out in '96 because of injuries, and going through surgery and not sure whether you're going to be back on the track or not, to come back 4 years later and actually not only compete at that level, but really perform at a world-class international level. That was a pretty amazing experience. Yeah,
being a 3-time Olympian and having the 5th place at the Olympics in the 1500 meters, it's so close to being a medal at that point. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah,
I mean, a lot of people did watch that race on TV. So. Yeah. Is there one specific event, if you had to name all, think about all the different things you've done, is there one specific event or accomplishment that you can think of that highlights more than any?
It's hard to pinpoint, one specific event, because I think there's, like, when you go through that whole list, there's kind of specific events from each phase of my athletic career. But that all being said, I think the pinnacle of any athlete's career is that ultimate goal, at least for a track and field athlete, is an Olympic Games. And so I think certainly that performance in Sydney is pretty close to being the #1 highlight of my career. It's right there with winning a medal in Victoria, and I think that was really special just because it was in Canada in front of a home crowd. My dad was in the stands, and
sure.
So it was, like I said, that was a real big international breakthrough for me too. So it's between the two, I think those are the two major international highlights for me.
Okay. Now, just changing the train of thought, I'm going to be interviewing Karen shortly, your wife, and how did you two meet?
We actually met through the Brantford Track and Field Club. I think I was already a member before she had joined, but I was probably 13 or 14 at the time, and she was in Paris at Paris District High School and performing well at the city and county level again. And I think I'm not exactly sure, but I think somewhere along the same lines, her teachers kind of, or her gym teacher or her high school coach kind of got it in her head to maybe take a look at joining this track club, and that's how we first initially met.
So how many years have you been married now?
It'll be 14 years this August.
Yeah, and you both have just outstanding athletic careers and I'd say outside of athletic careers, with Karen with her coaching and you with your successful business and your track club down in Florida. Which leads me to the next question: is what are you doing? What are you up to now? What's keeping you busy? And
yeah, I mean, I guess I don't like saying the word retired because I never felt like I really have officially retired. You kind of always have it in the back of your mind that you can kind of get back to a certain level. So, but I think that I kind of came to the realization that I wasn't going to compete at the same level that I was used to competing at. I probably wasn't going to be on a Canadian national team, at least at the senior international level again. And so a couple years ago, I just started kind of transitioning out of that. And myself and another Canadian, Nate Brandon from Cambridge, we actually opened up a running specialty store in Tallahassee, Florida. I was living down there, obviously with Karen. He had moved down there a couple of years after us. So we opened up a run specialty store. So shoes, apparel, GPS watches, all kinds of accessories, things like that. And we have a really thriving athletic community there that wasn't being serviced by anything other than a big box store. So we kind of stepped in and found a niche that was that people were kind of clamoring for, and things have kind of taken off. So I've been doing that for almost 2 years now. Helped Karen a little bit with her coaching. Kind of helped her initially when we got down there. Took a couple years off as we're getting the business going, and then I'll be going back to helping her as an assistant coach this fall.
Okay. And is there a track club that you're involved with?
I coach a couple of athletes. We don't have a track club per se, but I was coaching a couple of athletes just on the side, a couple of Florida State University graduates. I kind of took a hiatus from that as well. Again, just got so busy kind of with the business that I wasn't doing a lot with that. But it's certainly something that I'll probably be looking at kind of expanding into some coaching areas in the future.
You may have answered some of the next question, but it's all about how you manage your busy lifestyle. Because you are somewhat coaching, you have a successful business, and we know Karen is equally as busy. How do you guys manage all that?
I mean, it's tough, to be honest. We don't have a lot of time, a free time at least that we are able to set aside, especially Karen right now. I mean, I'm at least kind of settled at this point. I don't have to travel as much as I used to when I was competing, but she's on the road every week with the team or recruiting or just dealing with things with her job. But we managed to make it work. We managed to kind of utilize the time that we do have together, which is nice. But it's kind of just a matter of just getting the day planned out. But really for me, I try to make it where work is work, and then once I'm done with work, I try to just, not bring as much of that home if I can. Karen will probably say I bring too much of it home, but she's in the same boat too. I've said the same thing about her. So we try to make at least try and make it work where we're trying to have some set hours where we're just focused on work, and then after that try and at least have some time for ourselves.
Right, have some downtime.
Yeah.
Well, now that you're going to be inducted into the Hall of Recognition, what does it mean to you?
Well, I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, I've thought about it, and I guess it's kind of hard to put into words sometimes because I never got into sport for I guess necessarily for the accolades that come along with it. I initially got into team sports because I enjoyed it, to be athletic, to be around friends and to be competitive. And I think, that kind of transferred over into track as well, where I found something that I was competitive at, where I was good at. I mean, I'd be lying if I said I didn't enjoy being successful, and I didn't enjoy being good at it and running personal bests and breaking records and winning championships, but it was never, I never went into it with this idea that I was trying to seek out being famous or well-known or recognized, and so, or to be recognized for those things that I did. It just kind of just went about things the way I thought I should, and so to be recognized for just, not only for your accomplishments, but for just being the person that you're being, for being the person that you were raised to be is, it's pretty special. I mean, I think it says a lot, not only about me, but it says a lot about, my family and the way I was brought up, and, the people that were around me, because I certainly couldn't have done it just on my own, or it certainly would have been a lot harder. I don't know whether I would have turned out to be the same successful athlete or person without those mentors and those family members around me. So, so it's very gratifying to be recognized for that, but it's very humbling at the same time.
Humbling is a good word, because from my own experience, so that's exactly the word I would use. So that's a very good answer. Have you seen the new Wayne Gretzky Center?
I have driven by it a few times as it was under construction the last few years. I haven't been in the kind of the what's been finished yet. My dad utilizes the track, and he's named it his own track, so he's getting plenty of use out of it. But from the outside, the facility looks, it looks amazing, and I certainly spent a number of years there when it was just a 2-pad and a swimming pool, and so it's I think it's just great for the city in general to have an amazing sports complex that you can use for a variety of uses, but it's just one more thing that that's going to continue to build youth sport in Brantford.
What advice would you share with any young aspiring athlete?
I mean, I think first of all, you really, and it sounds so cliche because a lot of people say it, but you really have to enjoy what you're doing. But I think having gone through it for so many years, that's the one thing that kind of kept me going for so long. I think is that even as performances started to drop off, I still enjoyed the challenge of competing. I still enjoyed the challenge of training, of pushing myself, of trying to be the best athlete that I could be. And so, I think it's really important in, whatever your, athletic discipline or even non-athletic discipline, you have to really be passionate about it and really love the sport and enjoy the sport. And you can't, especially in so-called amateur sports, track and field. I always tell people, if you go into it looking for, money and awards and fame, it's so few and far between. Where there's so few people that comes to. That's just the wrong reasons to go into it, and it's more than likely than not you're going to fail if that's the only reasons you're doing it. And so you've got to find that joy and passion and love for it first, I think. And I think that's that's what kept me going. That's what got me into it initially, and kept me going for so long.
Okay. And any final comments?
No, I guess I'm just really proud to be honored with this amazing recognition, and it's just it's nice that your where you grew up, your hometown, is so proud of you. When I can go around the world and be so proud of saying, I'm from Brantford. That's where I grew up. That's my hometown. That's where, I couldn't imagine growing up anywhere else. And so I'm just really proud to be that I was able to be a part of the community here and be able to have those experiences growing up here. So it's just, very gratifying and very humbling to be recognized like this.
That's great, Kevin. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.